stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, if you'd like to take the roll call.
John?
Here.
Bruce?
Here.
Wayne?
Here.
Here.
Okay, you have the minutes of our or the agenda, excuse me. Any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Would move to accept the agenda.
I'll second that.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, no, very good. Looking at the board minutes from our meeting. Any additions, corrections?
Accept the minutes.
I would second.
Favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right. Okay, that's through number 4. Number 5, I was able to get a grant for the city and the school district. If you remember, we had last year, we had some issues over at Lyon Park and regarding night basketball in the neighborhood. And the city and the school district cooperated, and a number of those baskets were moved to Discovery. Well, the good police chief and our community ed director for the district asked if we could do something for the upgrade of that play area behind Discovery and the early childhood education. And I wrote a grant to Burnix, and make a long story short, we got $20,000 to, it's going to be a combination of upgrade for the basketball and the soccer fields over there. And the end result is that hopefully that'll be a positive, because right now all of that type of stuff is more in the northern part of the community, where this is down at the southern part, in a lot of apartments and so on over in that area, so that's positive. And stay tuned, it'll be sometime this year when all that'll be taken care of. What's nice, this is nothing, if you remember, the police department has been working with the school district, and when they move the baskets, and they have I think they have a soccer program, if I remember correctly. And the end result is that this is going to be more the school districts taking care of the. In other words, it's not going to be an issue for us as a park board. The result is something positive, and people seem happy about it.
Good.
That's the essentially I have on grants and so on. Okay, next, the amphitheater.
Yeah, I was going to show you a picture, and my computer decided to shut down, so it's got to reboot here, so I apologize for that. And if I can't show it to you, I'll do it a little bit later. So just give you an update. We are moving forward. I don't know if you had a chance to be out in the area at all to see, but we are putting the metal studs on the main stage building. We hope to be done with that by the end of this week, early next week, and start putting some metal on. The buildings are moving along, have no problems, and fears that those will be done and ready to go by early spring here. So now we just kind of sit and wait and cross our fingers and hope that we get the early spring that we need. They do assure us that they do have a plan if it is a late spring, that we will be able to have everything done. So wait to be seen. We got a lot of concrete to pour. We got a lot of things to do out there yet. So one of the things is okay, I'm gonna have to give that up. It's not working at all. So love electronics. Is the Gabion basket walls that we're gonna be doing out there. If you've had a chance to drive out there at all, we did do a sample. That's what was trying to pull up for you. We built one early June or early January just to see how it was going to work. It's fairly reasonable pricing that we got from the contractor. However, they build the baskets themselves, and the city is hauling the rock and installing the rock in them. So it's a joint effort. There was a few issues with it as far as the constructability with the type of rock that we got from Martin Marietta. You have to understand, we did this right after the first of the year. Temperatures were down into the sub-teens. Guys were out there working on this. So the conditions were probably the worst you could find to try to do this test. So it'll be okay. It's on the southern end of the parking lot in the backstage area. It's about an 80-foot section. Like I said, if I can get this thing to pull up a little bit later here, I'll do that for you. So that's in front of us out there. That's our city's staff that I've got to work through. We're also trying to get all the trails done inside the park to get those ready to go by the time it opens up. We have some clearing and grubbing still to do, so we've done quite a bit of it out there where we went through and pulled out all the deadfall that's out there. I can imagine years and years and years of neglect out there and trash. So we did a pretty good job towards the end of the year, and then freeze up came pretty fast and furious. Looking down my list here of to-do list of things that we've got to do out there. We have to determine, the council has to determine what we want to do with the graffiti on the walls. We'll have to be making a decision here soon on that. Some want to leave it up and some want it to go away. So we have checked the ice depth out there. It ranges anywhere between 6 inches and over a foot in different areas. So that's interesting. The deepest spot that we have found at this point, we haven't done a lot of surveying, if you call that depth finding, but is 45 foot is the deepest spot that we found at this point out there. So that's kind of interesting. We got deadfall on the side of the slopes that we got to get out of there, so that's what we're hoping to see, that we had enough ice out there that we could actually drag these trees across the ice and out with like a four-wheeler and that. So we're going to be working on that in the next couple of weeks, getting that all cleaned up. We need to plant trees and shrubs to cover some of the bare areas that we've got. That's early spring. The city is going to be buying chairs. And after the meeting, I can bring one in here and show you what the chair is. We just haven't decided on the color yet, but maybe I can't. Maybe it's in Sean's office. But anyway, that's 5,000 chairs. We got to build trailers for those 5,000 chairs. We think we might have a deal on a big pond fountain from another city of Hugo. They came by here about 2 weeks ago to tour our building and just mentioned to them, they said that they had a big pond fountain, excuse me, in a pond that they had 7 feet deep. The problem was this fountain was so big that it actually sucked dirt up, so powerful. So they can't use it, and they're probably looking at getting rid of it for a good deal. It'd be perfect in that big quarry. So working on that. So we got a lot of things going on out there right now that really can't be done until the weather turns. There is a possibility I need to get together with Martin Marietta to see if I can start hauling the fill in for the trails and also the Gibeon baskets. If nothing else, I can be doing that and stockpiling it out there. That would help a little bit to save some time. So to do all this, there's no way that my staff can do this work. So we did put out there, so anybody that's looking for a seasonal job, we are hiring today. We could use bodies to help start pulling some of this together. So, and especially when the weather breaks, all hands on deck to try to get that done. So that's where all of our efforts are going to be. I'm just going to be very honest. Probably going to be most of the summer out there. We'll see what we can do towards the fall on other park issues, but right now we have to worry about getting that amphitheater up and going, so.
Clearing brush?
Hmm?
Clearing brush? The seasonal that you're talking about, clearing brush?
Oh,
that
we
for
got,
that?
there'll be plenty of, there's other stuff to do, so
Okay.
it's not even that, it's patching holes, streets, so that can open up other people to do other things, so.
Okay.
So, yep. We do have confirmed, Chicago is one of the acts. It's not the first act, August 4th. And wait till we hear some other ones, so. We did hire a facility events coordinator last week. I think it was last week. We had a bunch of great candidates. It was a tough decision for the council in the end. But we did offer the job to Meredith Lyon, and she starts on March 2nd. So she's she'll work underneath me as my employee. She'll be out at Public Works office out there, and so she'll be charged with working with New West. She'll be trying to get some community events started, working on policies and procedures out there, just getting everything going. She'll probably go down to Kansas City and spend some time with Chris and Jamie down there. I'm also hoping to go down there at least once, if not twice, to check out their operation once they get going early spring. So, like I said, it's going to be quite a ride here for the next 6 to 9 months. So, other than that, that's about it that I can think of for the AMP. I know I'm probably forgetting some things, so if you have a question or think of something here, please ask.
What kind of landscaping are you considering besides bushes and trees and hanging baskets?
Nothing for hanging baskets. We haven't gotten that far yet. Okay, this is going to be bare bones. We're going to try to cover up the holes. I can't tell you exactly what, I got Woods Seed Nursery gave me what they would do along 17th Avenue by the little quarry, because there's a hole there. I can't tell you what it is. I can't remember off the top of my head. The rest of it is that I think we'll just try to plug it with some spruce trees. You know, some of those other spots for right now. There is some little landscaping on top of there, but at this point, I'm not worried about that. If it doesn't happen this year, it doesn't happen this year. Well, I got to get it opened up, get the hard surfacing in there so we can put chairs down and get concession sales and so forth. We can always deal with planting shrubs after the fact, if that's going to be next year or not. So, and same thing with the hanging baskets. The poles are here, the light poles. Let's wait until we get them in and see what we got. It's just there's too much to do right now. So, work in progress. Absolutely, yep.
Okay, our good landscaper.
All right. Well, I don't know if you've all been by the library in the winter season. I want to send out a thank you to Aaron Haberly Roofing and the volunteers, Flowers for Way Park, and the city workers for getting the library decorations up. That too is a work in progress, and but we had a little more sparkle there for the winter than usual this year. So, of interest, we're starting a volunteer library at the 602 building. We have some furniture up there and a couple bookshelves, and be putting some magazines and what have you for volunteers to be able to hang out, do some research. I have the beginnings of a lecture series started, speaking to the Stearns County Soil and Water Conservation District folks. Brittany Lensmeyer is putting together, getting a couple of their people together, and topics to be announced soon. It looks like somewhere around the 25th of March, probably the 25th of March, we'll have our first topic. And they're actually going to help me make some connections with the U of M and DNR and other folks that could help us sort of flesh that out. We could have probably a presentation every month, and that would be for volunteers, but also open to the public. Kind of excited about that. I'm looking into a couple grants that would be useful for our parks. For example, for pollinator plantings, and just thinking about this bit along the river, River's Edge Park, where they've been cleaning up. So that's with the Minnesota Board of Water and Soil Resources. Other than that, we'll start a few plants over at 602 building pretty soon. Soon, relatively soon, probably at least a month. So we don't want them just frying away up there. And then our volunteer recruitment continues.
Well, thank you for all your fine work, and obviously the coming spring is going to be quite a busy time. Okay, in regard to park updates, Bill?
Still trying to get this to work for you, so not doing it. So a couple things else that are still out there yet that I wanted to share with you is that's on our plate this year. As I said, most of the attention is going to go to the amphitheater to get it kicked off. One thing is that we're going to change out all of our refuse containers that we have bought over the years. They were the metal decorative black ones with the black donut on the top. They rust out. The donuts, strings come off, they get beat up. The seasonals actually requested this change. They liked how the recycling containers, the plastic ones, worked. It was much easier to empty them and less water in them and stuff like that. Suggested that maybe we go to our refuse containers, the same thing, obviously a different color. And so we ended up buying, I don't know, 40, 50 of those containers. So we're going to be switching those out throughout the park, so you'll start to see that. Where the other ones were beautiful, but very expensive, and when they rusted, they had to be sandblasted and then color coded back again. So it was very expensive. So we're going to be doing that change out. We're going to try to get the new netting in place at River's Edge. That's been a little bit of a problem because certain individuals do not want to take the responsibility of actually measuring it. And so we're fighting with them a little bit, but we'll work on it. Meeting with Babe Ruth tomorrow. Talk about the ball fields down there. Quick Trip fields will open up this year, so we've got some minor touches that we've got to do on that to get those going. The bike repair station will go up in the spring. We got the concrete poured in the fall. We also have the bike rental stations. The bikes are here, they're in Public Works, and they will be going up the spring. Steps at 3rd Street Trail were not able to be put in the fall because of the weather that turned so fast, but that is planned for this spring. Library completion, I know that Lorraine talked about that. There's still some work to be done out there, actually, quite a bit of more work. I'm going to be honest, I don't know how much we'll get done this year on that. We'll see what the fall brings to us. Public Works facility and 17th Avenue landscaping. We've got some dead stuff out there. I think what we're going to probably end up doing and looking at is probably taking out any of the dead trees in the boulevard. They just will not handle it. And from now on, probably not plant them in the boulevard. We're going to be looking to you and your group to help out at Public Works with some of that landscaping. I think the shrubs are beautiful and nice, but the snow and the salt out there, it's just... So we're going to kind of be leaning on Lorraine's group for that. The trees on Wade Avenue, half of them are dead and gone. we're gonna take the rest of them out and just be done with it. It's just not worth it. They don't grow, and so instead of having a couple of them here, we're gonna remove those. The other thing that I'd like to talk about and get any of your input here is the Granite View roundabouts. They are a maintenance headache. I'll be very kind. So one of the thoughts is that we just take them out and just plant grass in it and just mow it, or do we put some sort of like ballast material, crushed rock in there, which is not the best because, but is there some thoughts here? I mean, I'm really looking for some direction here, and we need to do something this spring because we can't continue to have what we have out there. And I know it'd be beautiful, but I assume it's just too much of work, right?
I never gave you a report on what was happening out there. I know you could probably see a lot of what's happening just by driving by. The roundabout closest to the woods has become a Canadian thistle roundabout. And we've taken to cutting it down in the spring, but and putting preen on it. And hoping to control it a little bit more. It's actually growing pretty well. The one closest to the highway, unfortunately, out in the blazing sun, appears to have had some kind of mouse or vole infestation. Almost every bush out there had been stripped of its bark last spring. And I had to identify it. I went and researched it. There was an eagle out there. It turned out to be a golden eagle that was actually hunting the roundabout. I drove up one day and he had some furry creature in his beaks. So in that regard, it's a success for nature. But yeah, I don't know why it would have become infested like that with those critters, but hopefully they're all gone. That eagle, I hope, was very hungry. And that definitely needs to be replanted or something with things that can take drought because we don't have water out there. And unfortunately, with the, trying to get it established with the landscaping crew that did the work originally, they did come out and water a few times, but it was not sufficient to get a good start on that. And the weeding was not kept up with in the beginning. And as for the thistle, I'm not quite sure what caused that. Maybe geese? I don't know. But I mean, it's just dense. And it looked a little better last year after we hacked it all down.
What about doing more of a structure instead of a plant? I'm thinking of the art that they have downtown St. Cloud, something along those lines. Not necessarily a statue, but something along that line.
So I can answer a little bit of that. The city is a little reluctant to be able to do that because let me say it like this, if you look at Sauk Rapids, they have all those big stones in the middle of their medians, it's really a liability.
Sure.
So if we put some bigger structures like that in a roundabout, if somebody goes through it, which they will do, that opens the city up for some exposed liability. So I would say probably not that. But
Okay.
I don't mean to squash you.
No,
but
I just know that not having water out there, short of
We have to
growing
do
cacti.
xeriscaping, right, things that can deal with drought.
Right.
And, there are a few things that we can get in there, but again, you still have to get them established, so they'd have to be watered in the beginning. So,
Otherwise, yeah, I don't know, I'm thinking grass, a pine tree, I don't know.
pine trees in the center would be great. Some form, not necessarily spruce. I don't know if you've noticed a lot of trees around here. The pine trees have been decimated by a pine borer.
Yep.
So we'd have to get something resistant to our local pine borers. And there are things out there.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you for just a second here
Before it
to
goes
bring
back
you this
down?
picture before I lose again. This is the picture of the Gabion basket wall that will be basically surrounding most of the back of the stage and then around the front gate. So I apologize to interrupt you. I just
Nope,
wanted to make
that's
sure
okay.
that you could see that. So, and you can also see it when you drive out there too. So, all right.
Bill, what's your cage made out of? What is that?
Wire.
Wire. It's-
Wire, just
yeah.
wire? Rebar in there, or anything? Okay.
Is that it?
Well, no, did we come to some sort of a consensus?
You know, the only
or
thing,
thoughts?
and the only thing I think of with a tree, and I know that there's eventual maintenance later, but with the roots and tearing anything up, but by the time that actually happens, it'll be time to probably replace something on a roundabout.
But I should mention that in the center of our roundabouts, there are lilac bushes. And they are actually, I mean, they started really small, but eventually they'll get really big. It's just a question of waiting that long.
Maybe we just do shrub.
And there are some shrubs out there, and
Instead
maybe
of-
more would be helpful.
Yeah, do a hardy shrub to this area, which lilac is.
Yeah.
If you wanted to,
We have to be careful so they don't get like crazy overgrown.
No, you're
I think
right.
I think of, what is it, University Boulevard over by St. Cloud State?
Right.
That one is just out of control. The stuff on there is humongous. Yeah, people are living in there on the
But maybe
hill.
that's it. Maybe you do lilacs. That is just one of the hardiest shrubs to
Or
this,
just things that are really
area.
drought tolerant
and
and
not
get big quick.
not get too crazy with multiple different things. Just keep it simple.
But is it still a problem out there to be able to get people to, because you're still gonna have to weed. You still got the thistle problems. I mean, you're gonna always have
And
those
it-
type of things, and so,
And it is easier to weed in the mulch than in gravel. We gotta
Yeah.
remember that, so.
Oh, yeah.
no,
So-
I get that, but.
And the rocks go everywhere. I mean, the mulch does too, but
Does this help you? Does this help you?
You know, I'm happy
Yes
to
and
add to
no.
the planting, or, you know, especially that one, it's pretty, I don't think it's coming back, some of those bushes that were on it.
Well, this is an ongoing, obviously,
I think it is. I
discussion.
think this is just going to be a little bit of research.
Right, maybe, because we'll have another meeting here in April, first part of April,
Yeah,
which we're not gonna really do.
I'm happy to look into
but-
more plants, different plants, whatever for you.
Right, and maybe in the meantime, look at some of the roundabouts throughout the state. What are they putting in theirs? What is successful? What isn't?
Yeah, I think our big problem is that it's probably too arid out there. There's not enough moisture. I mean, we can't get city water to it. It's hard for us to go out there and water, so so take that into consideration of some of your thoughts of what you're thinking of. But we'll visit again, and I'll put it on the agenda for next.
I was just, another question I had is, why are they so high? The mounds?
You design them that way so that you can't see oncoming. Headlights don't come from the other direction.
Okay.
Is
Because,
it too high? Maybe you can probably knock it down, but
hopefully it'll
Right.
settle, but a slope like that, all the water drains off of it. You know, so it's kind of like, well, how high can you go before you start losing a lot of moisture? So, just wondering
just know we need to do something out there. We can't
if we had
continue this.
Mulch.
evergreens or trees, then that would block people's vision.
I'd just do
You
mulch.
know,
But then
more than the
again,
hill,
you
maybe.
have, even though they're not real big at
Mulch
this
is rough.
point, but as they grow older and you have a 12-inch tree out there and a car does not work well with the 12-inch tree. So
You know,
that's the other thing too. So
and side note with Wayne and I, ultimately, we've got so many different plants and things going on around the town. And I'll make it really quick, but maybe we just do mulch, straight up mulch. And that's it.
Red mulch.
Red mulch, replace it yearly, throw some weed killer in there if you need to, some preen, and be done with it. I know it kills you, Lorraine, but we've got other places that we can focus all of your energy
A
and
couple
talent on.
trees would be nice.
Well, they would be nice, but maybe for a year or two, we do mulch.
Okay,
Well-
I think we've discussed this from every
Okay.
angle. Let's move on to about our budget.
Roundabout it.
So for budget, there's about $45,000 in there that we're gonna use to do some re-roofing in park buildings. So I just gotta figure out what's our biggest needs? Is it the dugouts at the river's edge? Is it the quad building? Is it the buildings over here? More to become. I just gotta do a little bit of shopping and horse trading and see what I can get for the best dollar for what we can get as much done as we can, so. I'll keep you up to date with that a little bit further down, but that's all we had in the budget this year. Like I said, the rest of it's gonna be going towards the amphitheater, trying to get that thing in a state, so.
Any other business people have? Okay, if not, our next meeting is on April 1st. And I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye, so moved. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
I did.